Should you really move to Turkey? In this interview, we sat down with our brother Faiz to get his perspective. He's a Pakistani British expat from London, and he's been living in Turkey for over 3 years. Faiz shares his first-hand experience dealing with visas and religious adjustments in cities like Bursa, Istanbul, and the place that he finally decided to settle down in, Antalya. If Turkey is on your list of countries to move to, then you don't want to miss this deep breakdown. Can you give us a little background about yourself, where you're from, and where you grew up and everything?
So I was born in South London, and raised in South London. Went to our local mosque. Was quite practicing from a practicing family, and then I studied accounting and finance in university. When I was doing my A levels in college, I used to teach in the madrasa in our local mosque because I studied about 5-6 years before that, and then 2 years in another madrasa as well. And then after that, so I was just teaching the 5 to 7 madrasa since the age of like 19, and then I continued doing that for about 10 years. But while I was doing that, I was also doing my accountancy and doing my accountancy work as well. And then after I left accountancy, because it was a bit depressing, it's not my kind of thing. So on a computer desk like this and doing work, so I just got really, really down and depressed, and I just left it. Financially, we weren't that in a difficult situation. And our iman is strong that Allah will always provide risk from other means anyway. So then one day I was just going on the bus to the masjid, and I saw one of these foreigners, from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. They work as carers for people with, mental conditions, mental health conditions, or disabilities, you could say maybe. So basically, I saw him working in that company, and I thought this looks like something promising, something that is beneficial for humanity. So then I applied for it straight away. I got the job. When I went there for the interview, they first initially said, "We don't have a job for you because you've got a first-class degree. We've got no managerial roles at the moment." I said, "No, you're confused. I want a normal carer job. I want to do something beneficial." So they were like shocked, like they had to ask me like 2-3 times. But then once I said this, straight away gave me the job. So I worked as a carer actually for minimum wage for about 5 years, which, as you know, from our Asian background, they really grilled me a lot, putting me down like, "What are you doing? You got an accounting and finance degree and you're working as this, low grade job," as people would say. But I did it, alhamdulillah, for 5 years. And then after that, Allah opened the doors and told me I should go to Turkey. So I did istikhara. I mean, we were traveling to Turkey before that on holiday, even since the age of like when I was very young, 7-8 years old. My parents used to go to Turkey regularly on holiday. So we always had this attachment with Turkey. And we had been to other countries as well, but they never we went there once, but we never went back again. So in Turkey, we just went like literally so it was like every single year. It's like an addiction. So then when I had my own children, then I went as well to Turkey on holiday with them. And it was the first time actually that I went there. And then my kids were on asthma inhalers. So I don't know about in England, we have these inhalers. They first give you the General Brown inhaler, and then they upgrade you to these higher powerful inhalers. So they were on Flixotide, which is a much higher level of inhaler. So they had these health problems with asthma and stuff. So when we went to Turkey, the first kind of sign I got is that, we spent 4 months in one go in Turkey. And when we returned back and we did our asthma review in the UK, the doctor said they don't need inhalers anymore. So that was like a big shock to me. Like, and he said, whatever you're doing, you did in the past 4 months, keep doing it. So that was kind of like the first sign. And I thought to myself, we discussed it with my family. And that was kind of the first sign, that Turkey is good for us.
Do you know why your parents chose to vacation in Turkey rather than other European countries?
I mean, we were always about Islam and Muslims. So we always want to benefit Islamic countries and Muslim countries. We would never want to go to a non-Muslim country on holiday, to be honest, personally. So that was always the case. So even when we went on holiday to other countries, always Muslim countries. It was always Morocco, it was Tunisia, it was, some Arab countries. We went to Dubai and these kind of things. When Dubai, before the boom happened in Dubai, we went to Dubai. But we never, felt as comfortable as we did in Turkey, because the Turkish people respected us being bearded Muslims more than they even respected the tourists, the non-Muslim tourists. So that was a bit different, because many other countries I went to, I felt like they were treating us a bit worse, and I don't want to talk about the politics of it, but, in certain countries, they look down upon certain, ethnicity. So, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's actually something important to talk about. I don't know if you want to go into it.
I think people know. I think everybody knows.
No, you'll be surprised, man, because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
I mean, look,
I
the
didn't.
amount of times the police stopped me in certain countries. At the airport, while we were driving, we get fined. And then on top of that, there's a bit more aggressive behavior in certain Muslim countries, which I was a bit uncomfortable with. And especially after I had children, I couldn't go there again. So before I had children, it was fine. You know, you could deal with it. It's fine. You know, without children, you can just go on those road trips. If someone, hits your car a bit here and there and asks you for money or chases you for money, it's fine. Because you can take, you've got no children to deal with. But once you get children, as you know, brother, your heart becomes a bit softer. Like we hear from the story of Umar radiallahu anhu, how he became so soft, after the period of Islam and Iman came into his heart. So we become a bit softer,
Where are your family? Where is your family originally from?
Originally, we're from Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is from Pakistan. Yeah, my mom is from Malawi, Central Africa. Obviously, they all initially come from the Indian subcontinent.
I guess my question is, because it's a little different coming from. Were you born in the UK?
I was born, in the UK.
Okay, so being a UK citizen of Pakistani descent is a little different than people that come directly from Pakistan and go to Arab countries and things like that. It's a little different, right? So, and I think that people don't talk much about that dynamic, because it's not just people from Pakistan, it's people from India, Bangladesh, and Philippines, and different places that come to work in the Gulf countries. So they're seen a certain type of way. So when someone comes from UK, maybe he's highly educated or whatever, do they make a distinction between people that come directly or people that come from the UK, or is everybody's in the same bucket?
I mean, I've heard stories from both sides. So even I know people who are literally white skinned. They're from a European country, and they'll go to certain countries, and then they'll feel discriminated. So they'll say, "We're only there for the money, bro." As soon as so, I mean, no one can deny the job, the money that you can get from certain countries is really amazing. But on that countries on one side, there's the other countries as well, like I'm talking about, some of the other countries which people go on holiday a lot for, especially for the second stuff. So those countries as well, mashallah, I felt quite uncomfortable because of the, being stopped so many times by the police and stuff like that. So even the general thing of being stopped and being looked at, and then, being stopped at the airport as well several times. So that was a bit of I felt a bit uncomfortable in that situation.
Yeah, I really didn't think about it until we started visiting those countries, and we saw that like none of the locals worked in any of the service jobs, or like you can go to the country and not see a local at all unless you go to a mall or something like this. So and then places like UAE is 10% or 90% foreign workers. And that's all through the Gulf, except Saudi Arabia is not as much, but Saudi Arabia has more, you see more of the locals there. I never thought about that when we talk about Hijrah and we're coming from the West. We usually don't pinhole it to just a certain nationality or certain.
I mean, you won't believe it. I went to Tunisia, right? And my wife does niqab, isn't it? She covers her face. And literally, they didn't let us enter the airport. They didn't let us enter the country until she took it off. So I don't know if that's at that time it was happening. We're talking about like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. But at that time, they didn't even let her enter, and she was crying her eyes out, So situations like that, it makes you uncomfortable and think,
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh man, this is my this is not for me. It might be a beautiful place. It might work for some people. And you know how it is with experiences, isn't it? Because even people come to Turkey, right? And they'll have a really bad experience, and you'd be like, I've never ever heard of someone having that. Right. So for different people, I think different countries, Allah gives you different signs. So I can't. That's why it's a bit difficult for me to say this country is good or this country is bad, because it's all up to what Allah wants to show you. No. He'll show you something is good for you in this country, and something might be bad for you in another country. So for me, Turkey worked. All the signs, the istikhara, the du'as that I made, all of it just said go, to Turkey. Right. And geographically speaking, of course, there's certain other reasons why we chose, Turkey as well. But I don't want to go too much into detail about that. But near the end time, certain things that we're supposed to be near geographically. That's the reason why we chose South Turkey.
So I want to speak briefly about your background, because you said that you taught in the madrasa there in South London.
Yeah.
I just saw an email today where somebody was saying that I don't know about if their numbers are correct, but the point is, it's X million Muslims in the UK. So why do we need to leave? What's the point of this Hijrah thing you're talking about? So you obviously, if you're teaching in the madrasa, you're dealing with more religious people. That's what I would assume, right? So somebody would ask, they would say, okay, so why would you move to Turkey or any other place if you have an Islamic environment where you're at?
So there's no denying the UK, alhamdulillah, mashallah, Mubarak, is one of the best, you have one of the best Muslim communities in the whole of the Western world.
Mm.
The infrastructure, the schools, the universities, mashallah, they have advanced. Even people from Europe and America and even South America, they come to study in the UK.
Mm.
So where my wife studied as well, in one of the boarding schools, they also had students from America and other countries.
Right.
So, I've seen, how, mashallah, advanced they are. But there are some signs that I'm seeing certain Islamic schools being closed down and restrictions on this education system of certain, over 18 stuff that is being taught. These are new things that came up.
Right.
And these are now even being taught in Islamic schools as well. And many of these Islamic schools are also, unfortunately, because I know teachers who work in these Islamic schools.
Mm.
I don't want to mention some of the high-profile people, but some of the people who have 1 million subscribers on YouTube,
Right.
teach in these Islamic schools. Because at the end of the day, if you've got no qualification, let me tell you the background, right? Is that even if you've got no qualification of teaching or you've got no degree, these Islamic schools were accepting people to teach there. So the insider information wasn't very positive for me. I personally, look, it works for some people. It may work wonderful for some people. But for me, because I can teach my own children, my wife can teach my own children. So there was no need for us to have that infrastructure. What we needed was more of an external infrastructure to help support us, to be able to support our children.
Right.
For us, Turkey worked for that in terms of affordability. Like, I could never buy a house of my own in England. Like, even right now, the house that I'm in, this is my mum's house.
Right.
So whenever I come to London, I come stay at my mum's house. So I could never ever afford to buy a house of my own in London. So that's why when I moved to Turkey, I was able to afford my own apartment.
Inshallah.
So no doubt about England. But the other issue with England is, like, because we've got family members in other religious cities. So a lot of people told me, why don't you do Hijrah to Leicester or Blackburn? These like the street is full of 100 huffaz and ulama. It's even better than certain Muslim countries. The problem with those areas, because I've spent time in those areas, because I have a background in Tabligh Jamaat. I don't know if you know about Tabligh.
Yeah, I know, of course.
So I used to go to Tabligh Jamaat a long time ago. So I've been to those places, religious places. But they have two extremes, unfortunately. All of these religious areas have very religious families, but then on the other side, they also have very non-practicing families. And because when two of the same people from the same background, when they're in the same area, they become very, comfortable. When you become comfortable, that's when free mixing happens in a certain way. I don't know how to explain it. But let's just say it corrupts us, corrupts the children, corrupts the family very, very easily, because people become too comfortable. And I've noticed religious people who live in a non-Muslim area, you would find them more stronger on their deen if they're already practicing. They'll be more stronger on their deen than the ones in the practicing areas. So that in the practicing areas, they lose it sometimes, or they become too comfortable. I don't know how to say it. And another reason is, as I said, this is not for everyone, but because my background is in Dawah, I've always been into Dawah. So even in England, I used to be doing Dawah to non-Muslims in all sorts of projects and works and Dawah tables. So I've always been part of that. I've made my own Dawah letter as well. If anybody interested, they can let me know. You send them the Dawah letter and they can print it out, they can post it. So no one's done Dawah letters through the letterbox. So I had this idea. So if anybody interested to forward that around, then inshallah we can do that. So when I went to Turkey, I felt that there's a huge need of Dawah here that I can move towards. And the Dawah field, like the field of Dawah in the UK, is very saturated. Everywhere you go, there's Dawah.
Right.
There's a lot of Dawah going on. And even if you look at most of the online content, let's face it, the UK is number one, isn't it, in terms of Dawah?
Right.
So I wanted to do something in Turkey because I saw a market where I can do something in Turkey. So not only affordability, good weather, cost of living, but also in terms of Islamic da'wah that I could do, I felt I can contribute towards it, which is what successfully happened in the past week, alhamdulillah. Because I've been working on the past year with this organization in Istanbul. So I don't know if you've been to Suleymaniye Mosque.
I have, yes.
Yeah, so they've got this Dawah organization, Dawah Center as well, that's run by a Turkish group. And mashallah, they have people from all around the world. I discovered them last year, actually, when I went to meet Ismail Jannah, Zishan came there. And then I met John Fontaine. I met, also the Lauren Booth as well, the, ex-Prime Minister's sister-in-law, Tony Blair. So we went to meet her as well, mashallah. And so they pointed me towards the Dawah Center. And now, alhamdulillah, they've successfully implemented a protocol in the Mufti office in Antalya now. So we have permission to give da'wah to non-Muslim tourists now. So alhamdulillah, so these things are kind of progressing. I'm working on slowly, inshallah.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? And that is the visa situation in Turkey.
Yeah.
Right? Many people, including my family, we moved to Turkey. Initially, it was really easy to get a visa, and even if it was tourism or whatever, and just go and get it renewed and no problem. But now, I don't know if new policies were introduced or something like that, where it's difficult now to stay there just on a tourist thing. What do you know about that? And for people that are interested in moving to Turkey, how should they prepare if they nowadays to move to Turkey? What do they need to do?
So as you know, when you came, and I think I came around the same time to Turkey, in those days, you can buy any property for any amount, and then you get residency.
Right.
That's kind of like a permanent residency, you renew every 2 years.
Right.
And that leads to citizenship as well. So that used to be any property for any value. Now, from what I heard last year or 1 or 2 years ago, they changed it where it became $200,000. Now you have to buy a property for that amount so that your family, any husband, wife, and children under 18 can get residency, which means they can go to school for free, as you can go to the doctor's surgery for free. These kind of certain things you get for free once you get this residency. And the citizenship used to be $250,000, increased to $400,000. I'm assuming because the demand went very high and there were certain people who were coming into the country which Turkey didn't want them to come in. Because the demand went so high, they wanted to, kind of restrict the certain people coming in. So before, people were just renting and then they were just getting residency very easily. But now that's not the case. But apparently, now this is not 100%, but there's certain visas coming out now, which are coming up. People are saying you can get like a nomad visa. The company gives you visa through their company. The other one is obviously a nomad visa, which is a new thing. I don't know much about it. People can research that. And there are apparently certain people who are getting residency through rental still. From what I know, most people are getting rejected, but I've heard some people, they're speaking on Facebook saying that they're still getting residency. Apparently, they've eased it up a bit since, the war happened in Russia and all the, people who are coming in. So they were restricting it, really restricting the people coming in.
So let me ask you, man, since you've been around, you're well-traveled, what would you say are the main benefits for someone who wants to move to Turkey?
Proximity is very good to any country in the world. Like recently, we've got this now Umrah lane in our in our airport, Antalya airport, which you can go directly to Umrah. So they have when the car goes into the airport, there's a lane for people who are going for Umrah or Hajj. So they've designated the airports become very expanded. So there's good flight towards there. I mean, flight is becoming an international hub now. So you can go anywhere very easily. And I'm from UK, so for me, flights are very, very cheap. So on average, I pay about £30-40 one way to go to Turkey. So for me, that was, being geographically easy to go back to England if I needed to was good. And then the infrastructure in terms of health, safety, as you know, Turkey is very, very high level, on par, I think, with Europe, and in many things it's even better than Europe. And the people were quite nice. I always felt, as I said to you before, and initially, they have a lot of respect for us. So I feel very comfortable being there. Even the ones that many people, say, oh, there's certain Turks that won't like you, that are not as practicing, but even they were fine as well. I don't know, maybe it's my personal experience, but I haven't had any issues or discrimination or any sort of, problems with my family being there. So I found the people to be nice, and in terms of cost of living, everywhere went expensive. So, people were like, "Oh, the inflation in Turkey is gone to that many percentage." But then again, we're people who come with pounds and dollars and euros, so it doesn't make us.
Right.
We're still saving. We're still paying 10% of the bills that we pay in UK. Our council tax is like 100 times cheaper what we pay in the UK, so it's still more affordable, I would say.
Right.
To get your step-by-step guidance on relocating to the Muslim world, go to makehijrah.com/blueprint.
Turkey has many famous cities, Istanbul, not Konya, not so much, but it's there. Izmir and these places, Antalya and other places. So why did you choose Antalya?
So actually, the first time I discovered Antalya, because as you know, the Brits always go towards Fethiye and Marmaris. That was like the number one place where all Brits go on holiday. So we were just following the crowd. So we went, one day we were in November in Uludines Beach, the Blue Lagoon, this famous place in Turkey for being one of the best beaches. And we met this Turkish family, and they were all proper practicing. Their family was doing again niqab and stuff, and I was shocked. As soon as we saw them, my dad just rushed to them, to meet them. My dad used to love meeting people, new people. So as soon as he met them and we spoke to them, they said they moved from Gaziantep recently, which is East Turkey, to Antalya. So we were just thinking, haram, we were just thinking, hey, Gaziantep, that's East Turkey, it must be more religious, and you're moving to a place like Antalya, what's wrong with you? He said, no, the thing is because of certain foreigners that have moved to East Turkey, there was some issues, and because their wife does niqab, they feel much more comfortable in Antalya, where it's a cosmopolitan city, where there's so many people from different backgrounds, there's so many Arabs. Like every building that I know of my apartments, there's an Arab living there, Arab family. So there's so many Arabs, so many different country people. There's about over 200 Pakistani families that live there. So I discovered this from this family. So they told me about Antalya. So I thought, let me go try it out. Alhamdulillah, it's an all year round city that you have everything, and the weather is good because most of the farms are in South Turkey, so you get most of the fresh vegetables and fruits for quite cheap, and the people are more calm. So these other cities that you mentioned, like Istanbul and Bursa, Bursa is a bit fine, but I think we need a bit of foreigners, to be honest. When we hijrah from a non-Muslim country, our children, our wife, they need that kind of infrastructure that keeps them entertained as well at the same time. And Antalya, I found, had that. So it had those enjoyment places, halal enjoyment places. It had the beauty, the natural, beauty and everything, and the activities, and enough families as well. So there was enough, social activities, social gatherings of foreigners who speak English or your language that you want. Like if you're an Arab, you can find the Arab groups. If you're on the Pakistanis, you find the Pakistani group. Whichever group you want, you'll find it there because there's enough families. So there are other cities around Turkey which are smaller, but you won't find enough families there, and people long term, I've noticed, they never stay there. Like they never last. They'll always then end up moving to the bigger city. So Antalya was the perfect combination of everything. Like it's got its own university. The airport is only 15 minutes away from the city center. Everything is too perfect and too convenient.
Compared to Istanbul or Bursa, cost of
living. Istanbul was way too cold, first of all. So Istanbul is more colder than England in the winter, and the pollution level, the people as well, these kind of things really put me off. I've had families who've contacted me who moved to Istanbul, and then their children got ill so badly, they said that we've never taken antibiotics in our life in England, but we are now taking antibiotics. That's how bad it's become. So I don't know if it's the pollution, I don't know if it's the weather, but there's certain things about Istanbul that just puts me off. And also politically, whenever there's an issue in Turkey, Istanbul always gets impacted. And another thing is earthquake. So you see most of the coastal areas, including the major cities like Istanbul, Izmir, they're all red zone earthquake. So if you Google it, earthquake Turkey map, it'll show you all the red zones. And these are all red zones. So that was a bit of a fear as well.
Cost of living wise, how much more or less expensive is Antalya compared to Bursa or Istanbul?
I think in terms of property prices, they're probably cheaper. Rent is slightly cheaper. I was probably 20% cheaper, not that much cheaper. But 20% is quite a lot, actually. and especially when it comes to the city center. So city center in Istanbul would be very expensive. The city center in Antalya wouldn't be that expensive. You can find it very, very cheap. In terms of, I think most of the fruit and veg, as I said before, we get it much more cheaper and much more fresher. So I've noticed when I was in Suleymania Mosque, when I was volunteering there for 2 months last year with my family, it was very difficult to get good quality fruit and veg. You had to go like really outskirts of the city to find these, big markets and stuff. And even if you find it, it was very expensive for some reason. So I found it a lot more expensive in these cities. And I think that's why a lot of people get put off when they come on holiday to Istanbul and they think that's the only Turkey there is. And then they just get put off saying, oh, this is super expensive. But there's a lot of scams that happen in Istanbul, in all sorts of ways. Like, I can't believe I bought 2 peaches for £2. And for £1 I could get like 2 kilos of peaches. So it was just a bit shocking, like where they get their prices from. I don't get it.
That's like most big cities, though, man. Like everybody goes to the big city, try to make money, try to hustle and do things. It's a lot harder in the big cities.
And it's not very child friendly as well, because when you're traveling from one place to another, it's a huge headache. The taxi systems are very bad. Like in Antalya, you can go to any street. There's a button, you press it. You experienced it. You press that button and the taxi comes within 1 or 2 minutes. Istanbul, they don't have that system. So you have to chase taxis. And when you have these apps, all of these apps, they don't accept it. The taxis don't accept it. And there's hills. Istanbul is full of hills. It's not easy, bro, with a push here. So I would never live there, but it's a nice place to visit. Of course, the history and everything is magical. And if you go without children, it's the most amazing place, no doubt.
So what about the suburb areas like Başak Şehir and these places? Have you been?
I went to Başak Şehir. I met some of the families there. Again, as I said, it's very, I don't know, I felt it was a bit too much concrete. So I've made a video on Başak Şehir on my channel as well. But it's a bit too concrete, I would say. It's way too concrete. And there's not much greenery there. And that was the place where one of the families was getting ill a lot. Even more colder than Istanbul itself. It's very far. It takes about 1 hour, 1.5 hours to go there from the city center. They do have good Islamic universities there, no doubt. I mean, I think the universities and Islamic education is another level when it comes to Istanbul, because obviously you're going to get 10 times more options of everything in Istanbul. So in Antalya, you still get them, but you won't get that many options. No one can deny that. Of course, the city is like 10 times bigger as well. So
you mentioned the weather. So Antalya, winter.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that like?
You're making me smile already. So I mean, look, I would say Antalya weather is perfect 9 months of the year. Like, we love it. 3 months gets too hot, so you have like June, July, August, it gets too hot. Normally in those months I come back to the UK because we spend time with our in-laws and other family members because they come out of school, so it kind of works out perfect for us that way. But the rest of the year is perfect. And when the winter does hit, it gets cooler, but trust me, bro, you appreciate the winter because you've had heat for 6-7 months. So when you get the nice coolness and you get a bit of storms and you get those lightning, you enjoy it, But even that is very mild, the days are like 15 degrees, the nights are like maybe hits, at cold, it gets 5 degrees or something, So for us from the UK, for us, that's a picnic,
Let's talk numbers just quickly. I mean, right now, because just to get an idea. So a family, let's say a family of 4, if they're initially renting, before they would buy a property or something like that. And of course, we want to say they're buying local fruits and veg, local products. So including everything, utilities, rent, cost of food, give us a range of what you think that would be a good amount to spend.
Pick a currency, bro.
Do pounds, do British pounds, man.
Pound, You dollar people, I'll do a dollar if you want dollar.
No. Let's do British pounds for now.
Right. But British pounds gone very strong, so you got to be careful.
Right.
So I mean, in British pounds, I would say, as I said, my bills are approximately electric, water, gas, and council tax and all that stuff comes to about £50, I would say, a month. Maybe for a very big villa or something, it becomes like 100, but to average about £50-60, everything comes into that. And then you have on top of that, let's say if you were to rent a place, you have the average rental probably £300 to £500. I would say you can get a nice apartment to rent, depending upon the location. So that's why I'm saying £300 to £500 for a 2-bedroom apartment, because you said 4 people. So 2-bedroom would be enough for them probably. And then I don't know what else. What other expenses would there be?
The food.
The food, you see, as I said, if you're living on fruit and veg, it's all pretty much very cheap. I mean, I don't even look at it. I mean, my weekly fruit and veg shop probably comes to £15. And that even, like, my wife gets angry sometimes if I bring too much, you know, like I'm gonna have to clean those stuff.
Right.
So, but meat and chicken is the same price in Turkey as it is in England. Now, England is different to other countries in the world because I've traveled to Europe in other Dawah organizations, and I found Europe to be very expensive in comparison to the food in UK. So I'm only comparing to the UK Turkey, but meat and chicken is the same price.
And what is that?
I mean, I don't know. The prices keep changing. I just came to England now, and my brother said the chicken wings used to be like £3 a kilo, now it became £5 a kilo. So I don't know. I'll have to check again in Turkey what the price is. I haven't been there.
Right.
Next week, but I would say it's pretty much the same, maybe slightly cheaper, but you can get really good quality. So what I do is basically we've got one brother from England who moved there, and he's got his own farm in the outskirts of the city, and he has organic sheep and lamb. So he cuts it themselves. He takes them out for walking in the mountains, and we buy it directly from him. And trust me, bro, like when you eat that lamb, it is like the juice is coming out from it are so tasty and so thick. Like you feel to yourself, I've never tasted lamb like this in my life, you know. So, you know, it's different. It's a different breed.
Right. If you would like to support our productions and share in the reward, inshallah, go to fund.makehijrah.com. Okay. So now let's pretend I'm a father.
Role play, yeah.
All right, let's role play for a second. So I'm the father of 2 children and a wife, and I say, look, man, I'm interested in moving to Antalya, and right now I could afford about £1,000 a month. And later, inshallah, maybe within a few months, if I like the place, I'm willing to try to invest in a property. So forget about the property now. Just as that, would you recommend that I come to Antalya with that amount of income, or is that too little?
As I said before, £1,000 would be more than enough. I think a lot of people are surviving. Turks, many of them are surviving on like £300-400 a month. So for you to survive on 1,000, even if you take out rent, let's say £500, I think you can survive.
Is that just survival, or surviving in a good way?
I mean, look, bro, you'd be right near the beach. You'll have beautiful scenery. You have fresh fruit and vegetables and meat, and the brother, you know, in the mountains. I think you'll survive pretty well on £1,000. And when it comes to visa, of course, you're allowed to come for up to 3 months without a visa. So even without, so a lot of people, what they're doing right now, I mean, majority of people that have contacted me, they've bought a property, and what they do is basically, and this might answer partly what your question is, and this is what majority of people are doing, is they buy a property for any amount. So they don't have to buy $200,000 because they don't buy for residency. So they buy any cheap property they buy, and then they come there for 3 months. They go, some other family member or family members or friends they know will come to the same apartment, utilize it while they're away, and then they'll come back again for the other 3 months. So up to 6 months a year, you can stay in Turkey without a visa, utilize that property and apartment, maybe avoid the winter in England and save a lot on electric, gas bills. And a lot of people are doing that, you know, and they'll give it out to their friends and family members to come stay in the summer. And that way they'll save like, you know, £100 a night or something, you know, on the summer thing. So with that is one of the easiest options to do that as a holiday home or as a holiday place. Or people do that even as rental as well. So they rent a place 1 year and then they just give it out to their friends and family to come and go. So the other second option is residency. It's at $200,000, but then you have to get health insurance. You have to pay for the residency application. You have to be there for a few months while the application is made, and then you have to pay more taxes and stuff because you're now, showing the full $200,000 on your land registry and everything. You know, so it gets a bit more complicated, more expensive. But that way you can live there full time and you can have your children and go to school and you can go to the doctors and stuff like that.
Now let's talk about the Islamic environment there in Antalya. I've been to Antalya, by the way, but I think I was in the tourist areas. So is there a difference? Like, is the tourist area the same as the local area, they mix it all together, or are there parts that you would recommend people go if they're looking for a more Islamic environment?
So it's a bit mixed. It's a bit complicated to explain it, but like the example I give is like, if you come to London and if you go to Soho at nighttime and you compare that to London, then it's very different. Because if you go to East London, it's like adhan going on loud, and you got all the Muslims walking around in jubbahs, and it's different vibes. So there's different parts of Antalya, just like there's different parts of London.
Okay.
So you can't say one part is the same as others. But however, so when you go to the back areas of Antalya, even if you go 2 kilometers back from the sea, everything becomes different. The masjids have more people inside them. There's locals. You don't see much, people outside. After like 8-9 p.m., everything becomes quiet. You don't see nothing going on. So it becomes very local. Local areas are different, and they're all, mostly Turkish people there. Foreigners have mostly bought and lived near the coast, because that's our dream, isn't it? We want to live near the sea. So the non-Muslim ones, the foreigners that come on holiday, their hotels, they're all in the city center or they're near the coast.
Okay.
So understandably, it'll be like that. Now, the other dilemma for me personally is because I'm into the Dawah, to the non-Muslim tourists, for me, I have to be near the historic mosques, which are in the city center. So we've always had this love for the Dawah, and we've had love for the ancient mosques. So we have this dream to make the mosques full with people. So for me, I have to live in the city center. So the dilemma is I need to stay in the city center. And at the same time, also the beautiful places in terms of the parks and the infrastructure and the shopping, the malls, they're all in the city center. So for me, the dilemma is I want to be there, but it's not as religious. You get, in certain streets, not a lot. There's only like, I think 2 streets in the whole of Antalya that are like pubs and stuff. So that's inside the old town. Do you understand? But on the main street, you won't see any pubs. You won't see these kind of places. You won't see any drunk people anywhere. And in terms of religious people, it's all mixed. Like literally, like even when families come and move to Turkey, most people, I couldn't say there's an area which all foreigners are living in.
Right.
People want to live in the outskirts near the mountains. There's an area called Doshal Malti where they're living because they want to be away from the entire city. Like there's a motorway that makes them come to Antalya city, but it's only like 10 minutes away. And some people want to live in the back areas of cafes where it's more, a local residents, all Turkish people, but they won't have that buzz and that extra activity. But they're not far; they can take a tram to the city center within 10 minutes.
Right.
Then there's the Lara area, which is more of the touristic area, more of the high posh people live there, and the houses are a bit more like high class. So it's more expensive. So it depends. And then you got the Konyaaltı area, which is more, a lot of the foreigners come on holiday there because that's the main beach. And people come there on holiday, so the apartments there are more like swimming pools and complexes, and there's a little bit of hotels there in the front. So some people like that, as long as they've got. Most people just need a masjid nearby. They need a place nearby the masjid, and if they can find a school, if they're going to be living there full time, they need a school. So everybody's got different, requirements, and according to the requirements, then we'll say location. You can choose accordingly. And some people, it's just about a touristic spot. So some people, I'll take them for around Antalya by car, and they'll see, for example, Duden Waterfall Park and in Lara, and they'll say, that's it, I want to live near here. Some people ancient mosque, and they say, that's it, I love these mosques, I want to live here. I want to live in this street. So for example, I live in the main historic street. I don't know if you know Hadrian's Gate. It's the main entrance to the old town. So I live on that street, which has got this beautiful palm street, and this very wide walking street. So for me, I find that place just mind-blowingly beautiful. So even to this day, I'm like on a honeymoon at the moment phase. I just I just love it too much. For me, it's the best street in the world. So different strokes for different folks. I would answer that question in that line, really.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do and how you help people. So what services do you offer for people who want to relocate to Turkey?
So as I've said many times on my channel, I don't have a business, I don't have a company. I literally started this as a WhatsApp group. So there was like 2-3 people in South London of my friends who kept asking me questions about how is it, how are you in Turkey now? So I thought, let me make a little group. And then there was 3 of us in that WhatsApp group, and I should just update them whenever they asked a question. And slowly it became 256 people. And like then WhatsApp doesn't allow you to have a group more than 256, so I had to change it to Telegram. We moved to Telegram, and then after that, YouTube and the TikTok and stuff like that. So it's never been a business. It's always been because I love it. I'm passionate about it, so I've always wanted to share it with other people, and I've always wanted to have more families who come join me, so we can make more effort, inshallah, in Antalya in Turkey. So I mean, I do connect them. So if anybody's interested, I connect them with my estate agent who helped me initially. So out of all the hundreds of estate agents that I spoke to, because obviously in the beginning I was renting as well in Turkey, so I didn't buy initially, and so I was speaking to a lot of agents before I bought my first property.
Right.
So it took me a long time before I found the right property. So one agent just stuck by me, like he had the most patience. He used to come pick me up like 10 kilometers away every single day for about 2 weeks. He just kept taking me to the point I would say to him, bro, I think I'm very confused. Every day you're traveling so far, taking me to see all these properties, and I don't know if I'm, ready. Maybe I'm crazy, So he was the most patient, most loving, most personal, most intelligent. I remember speaking to some big high-level companies in Turkey. I won't mention the names. And I was telling them about like urban regeneration investments and old building investments, and they would just put me off because most estate agents make more money, more commission from new buildings. So this estate agent told me, no, bro, this is a good investment. This is good. So I knew this guy was on it. He was being honest with me, and he was more honest, even though he would get less commission from it. So that's where the relationship started. Now he's become, you could say, like, my older brother.
Right. Mashallah.
So that's the relationship I have, and then anybody interested, I just tell him, go talk to him if you're interested in buying property. If you want to join us in the Dawah, if you want to, know a bit about Antalya, I can meet you once and we can talk, we can discuss it. That's not a problem. Just take me out for dinner or something, and conversation for my time, and that's it. Inshallah, that's how I kind of tell people.
Mashallah. So where can we find you on YouTube or on Telegram?
On TikTok, it's called Moving to Turkey, and on YouTube is Confused Muslim or I Love Antalya. There's 2 channels on YouTube. You can find me there, and you can just email me or private message me on TikTok. And I also post some properties from my agent. Sometimes send me a good deal, then I'll post it on the group as well.
Mashallah. So is there anything else you wanna mention?
I mean, every person, I would say, needs to do their own istikhara, their own signs they have to look for, and make dua to Allah to show them their signs, what's good for them. And nobody knows what the future holds, which place will be the best place or which country will be the best place. But for me, as I said, and when I did this little group, the reason why I kind of expanded it is because I got so much positivity.
Right.
I remember last year there was one brother who moved to Turkey as well, and I was speaking to him on the beach in Lara Beach, mashallah, bearded brother. And I was telling him, I feel like I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, why have I got a YouTube channel? Why am I advertising it? There's no need for it. Like, I don't need it financially, or I don't need it personally. So he said to me, bro, if you stop it, then people like me who've literally changed our life and gone from England to Turkey, and now we're living the dream life next to the sea, with a masjid nearby and that beautiful life. He said, I would have never found out about it. So because of people like that, I feel motivated to continue. And that way, our group is expanding, our community is expanding. Alhamdulillah, through their du'as, like this last week, we just found out the permission got granted from the Mufti of Antalya. So, these things make me motivated. But I think one day I will stop, one day I will disappear. You won't see me afterwards online.
Right. Okay.
Look, for me, as I said, Turkey, I love it. I love the country, and I've loved it since I was very young. And my parents love it. And through the mashwara and consultation of my parents and my family members, we did it in a very slow, gradual process. So it wasn't like instant. And this is why I advise to the people as well, read the information pack, come there on holiday, stay there for a few months. You'll have to come to stay up to 3 months, rent one of the apartments, stay in there, get a feel of it. Do you understand? And then find out if it's for you or not. So it's not for everybody. Yeah, for me, it fitted perfectly. And I've been to many countries, and that's how it fitted me. So each person has to do their own, get a feeling of it, and get the signs from Allah at the end of the day. And Allah mentions the word ayat, signs, in the Quran like hundreds of times, that word ayat. But we have to look for our own ayat. We have to look for our own signs. So that's what I would say to people, So look for your signs,
All right, bro, man. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, we'll definitely be in touch, inshallah. And maybe we could do this again on another topic, inshallah.
Inshallah.
We'd like to thank Faze for his time. If you enjoyed these country profiles, be sure to leave a comment down below and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out this next video.